kind of just approached this in a very sort of narrative, I guess, leaning way. We really wanted it to feel like, even though it's a documentary and we're catching things in real time, we really wanted to have a controlled and measured approach to it. I think we really wanted to feel a little bit more transcendental than something that was always kind of trying to like figure out like what's the camera doing, and make ourselves like super aware that it like there's a documentary crew. Like Wakara, who's our main subject, like she's never done this before. She doesn't know what this is like. We don't really want to put a camera right in her face. We don't really want to be obtrusive to her daily actions. So how can we kind of like be smart where we're at and be super low key? So we did. We had, one camera, like 3 people the entire time, and just rocked and rolled.
What inspired you to make your film? Reena, do you want to start?
Yeah, the film was actually a semi-autobiographical story of the lead actress, Anu Bhatt. She wrote it as well. And so I came on board after we met at a film festival and we wanted to work with each other. But we're both half Bengali, ironically, and the other half speaks a different language than Bengali. So she wrote this piece based on having to tell her grandmother about coming out. So it was her story, and it kind of turned into a cute little comedy.
The genesis of this didn't originally start with me, but if you have been to Tucson, Arizona, then you may be familiar with an institution called the Loft Cinema. They would hold this, for those not familiar, they would hold this competition called First Friday Shorts, which is probably one of the most brutal competitions I have ever taken part in. But to spare the details, myself and my friend and fellow alum, Ari Grab, were frequent participants in this absolute madhouse of a free-for-all. And one night Ari was there. I was not, but the way he tells it is that there was a short that played that night where it was the opening shot was of a piñata and there was voiceover playing underneath. And he got really excited because he thought, wow, an art film about a piñata, that is brilliant. And it very quickly revealed itself to not be that. So Ari, in his disappointment, wrote the piñata art film that he wanted to see, which was heavily inspired by Raman Bahrani's short film Paper Bag, which is a masterpiece. If you're not familiar, Werner Herzog voices a paper bag. It's a journey. And but, Ari is an animator by trade. He had no desire to direct anything live action. So I remember one day we were driving from Tucson to LA, and he tells me the very basic idea of this thing. And I just thought to myself, Jesus Christ, that is brilliant. Can we do this? And he was like, if you can find the money, it's yours. And God helped me find the money. There is a God, and he helped make this movie possible.
Your film reminded me of a short called Pinata's Revenge. Have you guys ever seen?
Please send it to me.
Pinata's Revenge.
I'm not familiar. I would love to watch it.
Well, it's a little bit similar to yours, except for this one, the pinata kills everybody that tries.
Oh, I need to see this movie.
Kills everybody that tries to hit it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This is nice to have this is fun. Give yourselves a round of applause. What really inspired this film was I read the autobiography of Malcolm X as a young person, like in middle school, and it really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And one of the most fascinating kind of elements of the story of Malcolm X that I found very interesting is his transformation story, which started while he was incarcerated. And as kind of like my journey kind of kept going forward, I'm a Muslim, and much of that is like finding out about how other people came to that those life decisions. And so many people that I met had talked about reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and kind of also that being a spark. So I became fascinated with incarcerated Muslims. I started writing to people. The first one really kind of chose me. I was part of like a Muslim students organization in college, and I had my email address like on the website. and somebody had emailed me. He was a Christian like minister that was a chaplain for a prison in North Dakota. He said, there's no Muslim chaplain here, but some of the Muslims, they're just like looking for people to write, and I found your email. And I was like, that is the most wild, like North Dakota, Arizona, just like no connection. So I started correspondence, and I was just fascinated by the culture of each person that I was in touch with. And I said, this would be a really interesting idea for a documentary. So I reached out, I moved to LA. I went to multiple imams. I said, who are you in touch with? Like, who are you doing like ministry with or chaplaincy with that's locked up? And I was in touch with about a dozen men. Ultimately, because of a lack of kind of distribution support, I wasn't able to film in a prison. So I've shifted my story to cover reentry. And I made that film in 2019. It's called The Honest Struggle. It's about a reentry home. A man comes home from incarceration from 25 years in Chicago, and it's his story. But one of the people that I was in my research was Hamza, who then we stayed in touch over the years. I would send him books. He would, write me letters, and he had cell phones, illegal cell phones while he was incarcerated. He would call me with, and we just stayed in touch. And, you kind of see our relationship in the film, so I won't explain it, but that's really what inspired it.
My mom gave me my baby teeth.
Oh my gosh. My film was Demons. So I wrote it about 10 years ago, and this was like at the height of like gay marriage being passed or fought about being passed, and lots of like rights for the workplace for queer people. And I just remember watching like news reports about all like the protesters at these like events, and I'm just like, how are these people like screaming with like such anger and just about like issues that should be like granted, like they're just regular equality issues. Like there's actual evil people out there. So I just like thought of the world from that idea, and yeah, that's where it came from.
Let's see if we can get it. My film is called Place Where I Belong, and it centers on ICWA placement, which is the Indian Child Welfare Act that was enacted, I think it's set up there in 1978. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check. But I was originally reached out to a company called Trey and Borden, and they are basically a creative studio that works with philanthropy to raise awareness on certain issues. And they're working with the James Irving Foundation, and the organization that was being awarded was called the California Tribal Families Coalition. And what this organization does is it focuses on getting indigenous youth who are in the foster care system appropriate placement through ICWA. And instead of doing some sort of presentation, which Trey and Borden usually does, they like usually do installations. What the CTFC wanted to do was make a short film. And so we got connected, and they reached out to me. And one thing that I really wanted to do with this film is that a couple years prior, ICWA was really being challenged in the Supreme Court of the United States through the Howland Bracken case. It was a family down in Texas, and they were trying to basically abolish the Indian Child Welfare Act. And for those of you who do not know, if that was challenged and if that was basically abolished, what that would really do is actually really challenge tribal sovereignty. And what that would do is basically allow any sort of corporation who wanted to extract any sort of mineral or any sort of land rights to be able to come onto any sort of tribal land and basically do what they really, really wanted. And so there was a lot of waterfall down effect in order for this to happen. Long story short, there was this big sort of bureaucratic thing about it. And what I really wanted to do was like recenter it on the kids. Like that's what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about kids' experience, being able to stay with their community, staying with their family, staying with their, tribal affiliation, and being able to grow up within that. And that's really kind of what I try to do with this sort of film.
We all have that family member or that friend who celebrates their birthday all month.
So, some of us have even been in relationships with somebody who wants to celebrate their birthday all month. and it's really exhausting. Okay. For Jillian, for Tooth, can you talk about the effects and the animation that you used for your short?
Yes, I'm really obsessed with practical effects. So most of what you see is puppets, anything that's close up. Those are my real teeth, obviously, as you now know. I grew them myself. And then and Janine was like, yeah, I'll put them in my mouth. And so we just removed wires in post. And then I'm an editor, so I kind of have a pretty strong post background. And then anything that's like wide or above, we actually, another UA alum, Jared Potter, he 3D modeled all of the individual teeth. There's some really funny footage of him doing that. I shot it at my parents' house in their bathroom. It's the only bathroom big enough to have a crew of people. And she's got footage of him just walking around this tooth in slow motion with a camera pointed at it. And then, Tom Smith, another UA alum, did the 2D animation of the faces. And then I pitched the idea to my friend Katie, who's a writer, who's also a UA alum, and my friend Monique, who's a production designer, also a UA alum. So it's a total UA film. But it's sort of a combo of practical 2D and 3D.
Thank you. For David.
Oh, hi.
One of my favorite lines in this is, the pain I felt in my soul was nothing compared to the pain I felt in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about this dark comedy and just balancing the darkness of the Pinata's story and his feelings about his fate with the comedy of it, and how you sort of dealt with making sure that the tone didn't become too heavy on it?
I thought when I read the script, I mean, credit to Ari on the writing for so much of this. He has such a brilliant comedic voice, and I was very fortunate to be trusted with his work. I just knew that the premise itself was already such an kind of an absurd idea, but still grounded in reality, and that the key to the comedy was just to play this as straight as possible. And the reactions I get are just, it's very much, people laugh or it brings them down. I just went in with the goal of just telling it, this is just the real shit. This is just how it is. This is what it is to be a piñata. We're just along for the ride, guys. This is what they feel like. And, I was just kind of going in just with the mindset of just telling the story exactly how it is without really trying to go for laughs, without trying to be funny. It just already kind of was that by itself, and I just wanted to make the best version of it that it could be. And, just bring the best quality out of it. And I didn't really try to skew towards comedy or blatantly going dark. It just was what it was, and I just embraced it.
Okay, this one's for Rhys. I literally wrote on here, I think we might all know someone like TR.
Yeah.
Like you just said. So in this piece, your actor, Brianna Allmark, really carries this this whole film to a large extent. How easy or hard was it to find somebody that you knew could do this comedy?
We got lucky, I'll be honest. We had a comedy friend, my friend Peter back there, who shot it, who was also a collaborator, co-writer. And we were, and his wife, Kristen Sizoff, also, we were just on the hunt. And we had a recommendation. We shot a music video with another comedian, and she was like, we wanted her to be involved in the story. So we shot her the script. She was like, no, maybe these three people, sent us a couple like IGs. And I just went on a deep dive, and I was like, the comedic voice that I feel like I could talk to and bounce off of was all Brianna. And like, she just has this like crazy sort of like clownish sort of like physicality. and then she does like alt comedy stuff, and so she's very unafraid. And what we were asking for was for her to just be in the element, in the middle of no one that she knew or everyone she knew, like just in that park. And so her bravery was what I was responding to, her comedic rhythm and her inventiveness, just sort of. And then also she kind of like looked like someone who would be so bold as to be like, hey, come hang out with me for 1 month out of the year. So it was a lot of that kind of stuff. But we didn't have to. Fortunately, we didn't have to go too far.
Was everything that you did in the script, like with the point where she kicks over the table and the classic final moment where her skirt's tucked into her underwear? Or were some of the comedy bits in it improv at all, or was that all basically written into?
We had the bones. We kind of took the Curb Your Enthusiasm approach, where a lot of the beats were out in the open for us to look at, and then we went and Peter and I and Kristen, we went and mapped everything out in that park, and we had all our shots planned out, so we knew exactly where we would need to be during the day with the sunlight and all that stuff, not knowing what sort of like other things were happening that day. Happened to be a lot of parties, a lot of kites, like crazy things like that, so you just have to kind of capture that. So we had a plan, and then of course we had certain things that Brianna, we didn't really rehearse anything, but she had ideas, and we just sort of like let her lean into that. But we knew we needed to get like a line here about this and a line there about that. And once we got that, we just like let her flex and do her thing. And then there were certain things where like we had ideas about, and she was like, that I wouldn't do that. And I was like, okay, well that's, and then so moments like that. And it was her idea to put her skirt up like that at the end. And so like there were moments like that where it was very collaborative, and you didn't know really what you were getting into. So a lot of it was a little bit of luck, but also just being in the same rhythm and pace with everything.
Was everybody in the park part of the shoot, or was some of them?
No, we shot guerrilla.
Really? Okay.
Like the person when the balloons got stolen, we shot that 3 times. That was the first take because that dog freaked out. And if you look at it, like the person who like gets up, she's sunbathing, she's completely exposed, and like but her back to camera, so like nothing, we wouldn't do that, but like it's just this thing where we had no idea that was like kind of a golden reaction. We were hoping we would get some sort of reaction. We did inject some people, like the person she came up to and talked to, and the person who was taking photos for her. Those people were planted, and also the friends who but other than that, everyone else was just sort of there.
Oh, very funny. Jesse, for Demons, I think you already answered the question that I had on here, which is how did you conceive of this society of people who kill with impunity, but being gay is still the worst thing that you could be?
Yeah. Like I said, it was kind of the height of gay rights. And
what year did you shoot this?
This was 2016, I think.
2016.
Yeah. And yeah, I just thought it was so ridiculous that these people like don't they have anything better to do than to challenge us what we're doing? There's actual killers and like evil people out there, and I just kind of wanted to parody that thought in my mind.
Do you have any sort of horror comedy things that are inspirations for you? Like, were you a Buffy fan or?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. I did feel a little Buffy tone on this.
Yeah. Joss Whedon, before he got canceled, like he was definitely like a writing inspiration of just like, I mean, I feel like his like lingo is just like that's what keeps Buffy fresh. Is just like the writing in that show. So I love campy stuff and just like. You kind of gotta have to laugh in order to get through the pain. That's what being closeted and like all my life you learn that lesson. And so yeah, just putting that on screen and it was kind of healing to see.
Yeah. Justin, for 1774, can you talk about your main subject Hamza and how he's doing now since being released?
He's doing great, actually. He works at Homeboy Industries. They've given him employment, and he's enrolled in college. He wants to do addiction counseling, And there's actually somebody recently like offered, they were like, if you get your license, like we'll get you an office and all of that. So like people have been really, really generous continuously, and so many people. I mean, it's such a wild thing to go viral on the internet, and then all of a sudden people are like, but it's also funny that it's like, it's not for me, it's like for another person. So people are like, he's like a global celebrity, and like my inbox is just like blowing up about him. And also, you have to keep in mind that, you know, this is still a very vulnerable person. He never used the internet in his life, right? Because when he was 17, there was no internet. And then all of a sudden, he's like all over, like he was covered in the news in Uzbekistan. That's how viral his story went. And so I've just tried to like keep him safe in many ways, because there's just so many potential bad actors. But yeah, thankfully he's been doing really fantastic, and you know, been doing really positive stuff. He does like security as well when he needs to, and he's originally from like, he's Belizean, and I didn't really know anything about like people from Belize, but he has like a million jobs. He just like loves to work. I'm like, dude, you need to chill out. Like, how could you work so much? Like going from being in prison to like constantly working, when he doesn't necessarily need to all the time. So yeah.
When you set out to make this film, was the subject of the involuntary servitude of prisoners something that you already knew about, or something that emerged when you started to make the film?
Yeah, I had never, you know, I was very familiar with it just through the first film that I had done about this subject, kind of mass incarceration. I learned a lot about it, but none of my subjects had like a close tie to it. You know, previously, like they would work, but it was never really, I would focus on things like solitary confinement, like the film that the man that I focus on in the feature, his name is Sadiq. He went through like a ton of solitary confinement. And that was like one thing that I kind of, you know, kind of studied a lot about, because it really changed him in his like psychologically, and I wanted to kind of understand that. But no, I think through meeting Hamza and like hearing about his story, and then just how it just shocked the world, I wanted to kind of point a finger into it, because even in earlier versions of the film, I didn't really kind of harp on it, but it was so many people that were advising me. They were like, no, you have to explain, like, this is a thing. And especially here in California, like we have people that are incarcerated that are fighting wildfires, you know, and then when they get released and they want to be an actual firefighter, they don't let them fight fires, which is insane to me. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. For Christopher in Place Where I Belong, there's such a wonderful cinematography in this film. It's very beautiful to look at. Can you talk about how it was shot, and what was your idea for how you wanted the film to look?
Yeah, I had a really fun time working with my cinematographer. His name's Riley Donovan. And I mean, we kind of just approached this in a very sort of narrative, I guess, leaning way. We really wanted it to feel like, even though it's a documentary and we're catching things in real time, we really wanted to have a controlled and measured approach to it. We used a lot of sticks, and we tried to allow us to make really, really smart decisions on where we were placing the camera and let things just kind of happen. I think that kind of approach just really felt like tonally correct for us. I think we really wanted to feel a little bit more transcendental than something that was always kind of trying to like figure out like what's the camera doing, and make ourselves like super aware that it like there's a documentary crew. And you know, I'm Navajo, and I make a lot of projects on Native American communities, tribes, people. And I think, you know, especially when you're working with something like Wakara, who's our main subject, like she's never done this before. She doesn't know what this is like. She was a really, really touchy subject to talk to and to get to open up. And so that also played a lot into kind of how we approach the project, in sense of like, we don't really want to put a camera right in her face. We don't really want to be obtrusive to her daily actions. So how can we kind of like be smart where we're at and be super low key? And so that's what we did. We had, one camera, like 3 people the entire time, and just rocked and rolled.
That's interesting. I interviewed a documentary filmmaker last week at the Bentonville Film Festival, and they were telling me the same thing. A lot of making a documentary now is trying ways to avoid just having people talk directly to camera, because it's way less interesting to look at, and also, your subjects might really not want to do that. So thank you for that answer. Yeah. Reena, for Crossing a Desert, I really liked all your actors in the film. Can you talk about how you found them and the process of working with them?
Yeah, Anu had written the script, so we knew that she was going to be playing the title role. And then we just had auditions. We put out a breakdown, and a bunch of people auditioned, and that was really exciting. We got Ranjitha Chakraborty from Never Have I Ever. She was the voice of the grandmother, and she's somebody in the Bay who works at Stanford and then recently retired, and so she kind of does acting on the side, and now it's like her thing. But with that, she's really supportive of the South Asian community and filmmakers within our community, and she's just excited to be a part of our projects. But working with the actors was exciting, and it's such a personal story, so we wanted to make sure that Anu felt safe in telling her story, because she'd never told it and filmed it before, and so it was nice to be a little bit semi-fictional so that she felt more comfortable about the process. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Okay.
So we need to wrap up shortly. I'm wondering, though, if anybody's planning on making their short into a feature. It is. I mean, birthday month, or this. She could be deciding to celebrate her birthday for a whole year. It's for anybody on the shorts. Is there anything that anybody wants to talk about that they learned on this that they feel like they're always going to use moving forward?
Oh, my big thing is use theater people. The shot going back and forth is one take, and we did a bunch of quick changes and quick production changes from one side to the other. So everybody was just willing to work to create vision and collaborate, and theater people come from collaboration. So about half our team were all from the theater.
This was definitely an exercise in making something for no money. I guess, I'm learning to be resourceful with what you have, being good to the friends who are willing to come out and work with you. The importance of, we had no on-set sound on ours, so just driving home how much post sound can really create the world of your movie. I think those are a lot of the guiding principles I go by, and also dark shit is really funny.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you all for coming for the screening. Thank you, everybody out there.